You want a red flag on a movie? It's already on Vudu. Well, it's a movie. It's not bad. It's not good. It's it's okay. I liked it, but it just does not have it's it lands with a thud, but it's a perfectly fine modern horror movie. Uh, Pretty generic. If you told me that if it didn't have the Exorcist name on it, it would just be your kind of everyday possession movie, and that's the one of the big problems because it's the Exorcist. You know that Mount Rushmore of horror, the Exorcist, Frankenstein, Dracula, Michael Myers. Whatever yours is, it's probably on a lot of people's. It won awards. It's a serious work. It's an amazing movie in its own right. It's not just an amazing horror movie. It's a important important movie. So it's got a lot to live up to, and it does not in any way come close. Yeah. The thing about The Exorcist is even the writer knew not, hey, I can't do the same thing. So he went off and wrote Legion. They disavow the Heretic, Exorcist 2. Never seen it. Own it, but never seen it. But he's like, hey, I got to change this up because you can't just keep doing that. Problem is with studios and horror, they like to just, hey, there's 12 Halloweens and 12 Friday the 13th and 10 Freddys and you know what I mean? And how many Saws now and Screams and this. The Exorcist was a I hate to use the cliche of watershed, but it was just a movie that came out at the right book. I just recently listened to both The Exorcist and Legion and watched The Exorcist over again because it came out in beautiful 4K. It is a very, very good 4K. Go buy it. And then I watched The Exorcist 3, and it was one of those movies where at first I didn't like it. I thought it was a little long-winded, but he thinks it was long too, long-winded too. But it just is one of those movies that it seemed at the time long-winded, but it just kind of stuck with me so much so that I listened to The Exorcist, then I listened to Legion, and then I watched Exorcist 3 again in the span of the month. I rarely watch movies like that. I'll give it a couple of months to rewatch a movie, but I generally don't watch a movie in the same month. But unless it's like one of those things where in the theater, like, hey, I'm going to go see the new yada yada again because it's going to be 6 months before it comes to video like it used to be. But, so, I think it's one of those things where you can't just make copies of The Exorcist on repeat. And the thing is, there's been so many possession movies since that you're exhausted by the concept nowadays. Today's horror audience is not more sophisticated, I would say. Well, those A24s of the world, I would say, and the Peels of the world are making pretty sophisticated horror nowadays. But, we're a jaded bunch because we've just seen it all. So in order to meet or exceed what happened with the original Exorcist, you have some that's some lofty goals. And this movie did not do that. David Gordon Green, I don't think, is the right director to handle a project like this. I couldn't tell you who would be, but right now, it's not him. I liked his Halloweens. I really do. I like them all. I like them each for what they are, because they are about a guy in a mask killing a bunch of people, and they don't have to be Citizen Kane. The Exorcist has to be Citizen Kane or The Godfather, or it is a movie that's in the top 100. I'm sure it's in AFI's top 100 of all time, yada, yada, yada. It is looked at that with that much esteem. Friedkin was a Academy Award winning director already. Blatty was a successful writer. And he jumped genres and got a hit. And his Exorcist 3 is definitely got some things that could, need tweaking, but it's definitely a good movie. It really is. It's a A-. Obviously, The Exorcist is an S. It is top tier. But this movie, any Exorcist sequel is destined to fail. This one failed in the sense of, if you're going to say The Exorcist is an S and Exorcist 3 is an A-, this is a C, C-. Pass. Don't get me wrong. I went for $5 Tuesdays to the theater and I got popcorn, so I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed watching the movie. It just lands with a thud. It doesn't say anything. It does not challenge you to think. It doesn't, you know what I mean? I think the core problem with the movie is that it throws the important characters under the bus. The dad, Victor, it does, and the parents of the other kiddo, the evangelical parents. You end up not liking any of them at the end. You like the surrounding people that are trying to help, but you just don't like the parents, and which is, let's be realistic. As a parents can make stupid decisions and be selfish and stuff like that. So I will give them credit for not making them heroic. You know what I mean? So obviously I'm going to put a spoiler warning at the beginning of this, but this is going to be some heavy spoiler stuff. This is going to have to go on YouTube. This is just too long. No one will ever see it, but I don't care. It sells the characters out. You don't like them because of the decisions they make. The trailer ruins the premise of the movie or the ending because it says you got to choose one. Hey, I am good for them for actually killing the kid. Kid gets pulled down into wherever, hell, Mesopotamian underworld, whatever their belief structure was. Wherever that kid's going, they're gone. I'll give you that. They did that, but in the beginning, the dad, Victor, has to make a choice, and they cut away from the choice, and it's obviously his choice is not said for a reason, so it's going to come back and bite him in the ass, and guess what? He chose his wife instead of the baby. So, wow. Father of the Year there. The other parents, dad's selfish and cowardly, and you know right away he's going to break. Mom seems reasonable. Mom understands. You can't... Victor and the mom definitely were seeing eye to eye. We can't make that choice. I'm not making that choice. Selfish dad. Again... It sells out the plot because it gives you the reasons, that guy sucks. And it's not that he deserves to have his kid dead, but, it sells it out. So Victor sucks because he chose his wife over his kid, and he the evangelical. I'm just gonna call them that because I forget their names. They let's be realistic. I don't even know if they say their names. They're not. So he sucks because he chooses his daughter, and obviously the old switcheroo happens. So you just don't like him. This movie is also bad because Blatty, whatever, and Friedkin, in their movie or their book, and both, because he's a screenwriter, set some rules up. Father Marin says them. The devil will lie to you, or the demon, devil with a small d, devil, demon, interchangeable. This is a Mesopotamian guy again, I think. Or gal. Demon. But anyway, he's going to lie to you. He'll put some truths in those lies. The point of the possession is to bring despair upon the people that are trying to help the possessed. It's trying to test their faith and rub it in that, hey, I did that. I made you not believe. I have won because I have sowed disbelief. So, none of that really is challenged in this one. None of that is set up. So, it just doesn't follow the rules of The Exorcist. That's why I say it could just be any old possession movie. So you got that. Doesn't really follow the fundamentals of The Exorcist. The parents suck. And the script bails everybody out at the end by evangelicals, kiddos, dad being a selfish SOB. So all the things that happened to Victor along the way, all the being an awesome dad, caring for his kid, doing anything he could, kind of fizzles out at the end, because about the most sacrifice he does is his hardwood floors are drilled into with the world's smallest L brackets to hold those chairs down. And then he's just kind of there looking at his daughter, and at the end he figures it out. It's like, well, the connection to the mall. Let me go get the scarf. But it doesn't matter, because the evangelical kid's dad made the decision, and the devil pulled the switcheroo. So it doesn't matter. It lands with a thud. So I'm going to tell you right now, it's pretty easy as a parent, or it should be. Oh, there's kitty cat. It should be that decision at the hospital should be easy. Baby. Mom said baby. Choose baby. Your child is part you. Half of you is in that child. That is your blood family. That should be the easy choice. I am not in any way reducing the role of a married couple or anything like that. Unmarried couple. People with baby spending life together. But your child is it's easy decision. And guess what? Yes, they have to draw it out to make this dramatic. But it's just, it's just, you just don't like the guy after that. It's like, wow, you're a dick for choosing your selfish ass wants of having your wife and not your blood, your child, you know what I mean? Maybe as a dad, I'm a little more, a little harsher on that one. I say these kids. But, it just sells them out. there are some, I guess the modern term the kids say is cringe, and there's some cringe moments. The CGI in the possession is unnecessary, and man, not even that good. That is the wonderful thing about the original Exorcist, how practical it was all. This one, it just takes you away, and it's cringy. The Padre, getting the old, because of course they have to put in somebody's head turning around, so old Padre comes in and immediately touches the kids, even though the nice oncologist lady who practices her earth-based healing, we shall say. I don't know the proper term. I should look that up. It's very interesting stuff. I'm not from that part of the country, so it really doesn't go down here. But anyway, she said, don't touch the kids. And of course, Padre comes in and zip. So, and when he dies, I let out that uncomfortable laugh, in the theater, and I did that in the theater, and it's just cringy. It's just like, of course. And then the Super Friends, the Avengers, the 96 Bulls assembling of all the face. It's just kind of cringy because it's like, of course this is going to happen. It's, 2023. And I am glad they had the idea of having, religions working harmoniously together. It's just how they executed it that's the problem. Woof. So it's a movie that doesn't stick with what makes The Exorcist awesome, and it doesn't. You don't like the characters at the end because the parents are terrible. Make terrible decisions. Parents make terrible decisions. Don't you worry about that. I get that, but I took notes. That's how man, when you have to write down notes and you have lists of things, it's like there's some issues with the movie. It's just that it just doesn't have any impact. And I will say, considering the clown show dumpster fire we've been through in the past 5, 6, 7 years, we kind of are in the similar situation of 1973 America. We've got stagflation, check. We've got war, check. We have political problems, check. I mean, you kind of have to really be serious and try and make an impact, and this movie does not. And The Exorcist was a phenomenon. My mom went and saw it as a teenager. She couldn't sleep in her room that night. That's how big of a impact this had. There were people fainting and throwing up and visibly shaken by the movie because, and it's not just the visual effects. It is that frazzled poor man. We have it pretty rough in 2023, but think about going through the 60s, a couple of assassinated Kennedys, Vietnam, Watergate, stagflation, the Zodiac, the Manson murders. America was on, going into the 70s, thin, holding on by a strand, and then The Exorcist comes and is like, oh crap, so that we're in a similar situation. So this movie needed to be better. That's why David Gordon Green shouldn't have directed this movie. There's somebody with gravitas, and it's kind of funny to call The Exorcist subtle, but there are some subtleties to its narrative, and the fact that it's saying that in the end think about The Exorcist. In the end, the guy that questions his faith and goes through hell with his mom dying and just he's going through it. He's the guy that rises above and sacrifices himself to save a child. The parents didn't have to sacrifice anything. That's the problem with this movie. Like I jokingly said, the guy sacrificed his wood floors. The evangelical parents didn't sacrifice anything other than maybe standing in the church because of what their daughter did in church. Who knows? Probably forgiven for that stuff. But especially their outcome. But this one guy probably got a little rambly. But it doesn't have impact. It betrays its characters. It makes them unlikable. It just doesn't do anything to deserve the Exorcist name. The 96 Bulls dream team of religion, all those characters were good. I was expecting infighting, or I was expecting a very big swipe at like the evangelical dude, but that dude, they were all nice to each other and worked hard and worked together and supported each other. And the parents just end up being a bunch of jackasses and like ruining all the hard work they did for those two kids. So I guess in conclusion, meh. That's it. It's meh. It has the thought. It is about as it's a very well made, poorly made horror, or it's a very expensive, poorly made horror movie. There's a lot of that. There's poorly made, expensive action movies. There's poorly made dramas. There's you know what I mean? Like it's nothing that will not happen in the future, but it's just The Exorcist deserves better. Let's say that, and this is not it. And I know they're already walking back. We're going to make 3 of these. They should stop. Just stop. Just stop. Citizen Kane doesn't need a sequel. The Exorcist doesn't need a sequel. That's why Blatty wrote a book that deals with kind of possession, but totally different, and different enough to make it interesting. Even the writer knew, was like, I can't do the same thing again. That's boring. So yeah. If you can see it for free, cool. If you see it for free on TV when it comes out, cool. I would not pay full price for a 4K Blu-ray of it, and I wouldn't buy it on a $5 Voodoo sale. I paid my $5 to see it. If it's on a streaming service for free, I might give it another go. But it's just because it's perfectly fine. It's not The Exorcist. That's it. Good night. It's not The Exorcist.